The Hog Sty is brought to you by TicketClub.com, your one-stop shop for live events nationwide. Whether you're looking for game, theater, or live performance tickets, don't sweat it. TicketClub.com has you covered. So make sure you're going there for all your live entertainment needs, and make sure you're clicking over to them from the banner at the top of thehogsty.com.
By fans, for fans, the Hog Sty. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Welcome to the Hog Sty, DC's unofficial leading source for all things Redskins and the NFL. Brought to you by TicketClub.com. Get your tickets today, but obviously not for the Redskins. Buy your tickets to see a real team at Ticket Club. Make sure you're getting there by clicking the ad at the top of our page. We've got our season prediction winners to announce, a couple pieces of Redskins news to go over, and a wild card preview to get through as well. My name's Sean Conti. I've got Steve Thomas and Alex Zeese here today with me. How are you guys today?
I think you just proved, Sean, that we are no longer just fans. We have graduated to something else. And go buy tickets to a real team. And by the way, please listen to this entire hour of our show about this non-real team.
Well,
that's right. See,
I don't know what we are if we're not fans anymore, but...
Because we're just doing our job. That's
right.
What we are.
Yeah, that's it. We're doing our job. We said this before, you know.
Yes. Our job doesn't pay, but...
That's right.
It pays nothing, and we've ruined our fandom by watching game after game after game after game, talking about
right, and just getting bitter every day, a little more bitter. I'm doing okay. I'm actually recovering from a cold. So if you hear me suddenly go silent, it's because I'm hitting my cough button. So... Just to give you guys a heads up there.
I'm not sure what my cough button is after all this time.
Well, I have a mixer, so I have a cough button.
I probably do on our software, recording software.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Probably.
Wow, we're really coming across real professional today, guys. Good Lord.
Any professionalism we have is better than the Redskins front office, okay?
Right.
Oh, my God. Amen. And that actually is a perfect segue into our first topic. But before we get into Redskins stuff, because there is plenty to talk about over the last week or so, we have special announcements to make, right, Alex? We have some winners for our preseason prediction competition, do we not?
Yeah, we do have winners for our preseason prediction competition. We had about 15 or so people send us predictions of, what the Redskins would do, win-loss each week. I was keeping tabs every week, or, maybe I missed 1 week and I'd have to go back. But nonetheless, I kept track of, who guessed the most games right. And I'm not going to go through everybody because it took forever. But let's just say a lot of people finished in that 7-9, 9-7 range, if that sounds familiar.
It does.
I'm going to say that on our little crew of four, Steve and Jamal, you guys both got 8-8 in the end. Yeah, very even keeled.
It felt like I was missing them every week for a while.
Yeah, you started off slow and then made your way back in the second half.
Oh, and by the way, just make it clear as what we're doing here, because we made our preseason predictions on our show.
Right.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. We made predictions on our show. We had people email us predictions.
Right. Okay.
And
we owe somebody a trophy, right?
Well, yeah, somebody gets a trophy. So, you guys were 8-8. Sean, 4-12.
Oof.
Sean had no idea what he was. So, oddly enough, I think he was fairly close. You predicted a 9-7 season, so you weren't far off on overall. But week by week, you just had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
And then the winner,
I admit it.
The big winner was some guy named Alex, who went 11-5.
Are you kidding
I hate
me?
that dude.
You won your own tournament?
I won my own
I'm
tournament.
I need to see proof of this, quite honestly. And there's no way I'm mailing you a trophy. I'm just going to make that known right now.
All right, so Steve's not giving me a trophy. Do I give myself the gift cards?
You can give yourself the gift cards if you'd like. If it had been a real fan and not somebody who rigged the contest for his favor, I would have been happy to give the trophy. I'm not giving it to the guy who cheated, who ran the whole contest.
Well, you wouldn't have been happy with the guy in second place either. So
probably not.
Yeah.
I'm
Let's
just guessing that Alex probably turned a couple L's and W's along the way.
You can go back and look. It's fine.
I don't care.
But anyway, let's also go over. I also kept track of the game balls we were giving out after every game
Can I
to
guess?
players.
Can I
You
guess?
want to guess?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to say Adrian Peterson got by far the most.
Okay.
And so since there's 16 times, well, I'm not going to guess, but I'm going to say he had by far the most on offense, and then defense, I'm going to say Jonathan Allen.
Jonathan Allen. Sean, do you want to venture guesses?
Yeah, I mean, Steve went with the total logical answer there, which is Adrian Peterson for offense. Now, if we're also saying defense, that's a lot tougher.
It is
Allen's
tougher, and the answer may surprise you.
Well, okay, so that's where I was thinking. Allen's a really great guess, but I'm going to say maybe Swearinger got it on defense. This is tough.
I was going to say, can you give us a hint and tell us if the person is still on the team?
Well, it's funny you should say that, but so I'm just going to say we had a bunch of guys who we gave like one ball to, and I ended up, depending on how many people on the show, some days we had up to 8 game balls being given out. Some days we had 4 because only 2 people will be on the show.
Right. That's a great point.
So
think about that.
I'll just do a couple people who got multiples. Clinton Dix, Thompson, Richardson all got 2. Coming in with 3 game balls, Matt Ioannidis, Jameson Crowder, Colt McCoy, Preston Smith, and Johnson. Going up to 4 game balls, and Maurice Harris.
Alex gave Matt Ioannidis a red rose instead of a game.
Of course,
you got to get your last digs in while you can.
The season's over now.
Yeah. So Maurice Harris and Tress Way both got 4 game balls.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Good for Tress, but that's sad.
Yeah,
What surprises me the most about that is Clinton Dix. I mean, I feel like we've been shitting on him.
Sean, I bet you're one of the ones that
he had like one good game where I think he got 2 balls probably.
Because I think there was at least 1 or 2 games where you were like, I'm going to host a pick. He got a bunch of tackles.
Yeah.
And I was horrified.
So Quentin Dunbar, Ryan Kerrigan, real quick, both got 5, which, shouldn't surprise you for either. Your guys that you predicted, DJ Swearinger and Jonathan Allen, 6 game balls each.
Wow. Okay, so we were both right on the money there.
Not quite, because Josh Norman got 7.
Oof.
And then Adrian Peterson, like you both predicted, 19. So there you go.
It's easy. When you have no talent on the offense whatsoever,
well, it's going to be really lopsided.
Yeah, one Hall of Famer and a bunch of guys who are going to go back to their UPS jobs here in about a week.
Mm-hmm. One name you might notice I didn't mention, Alex Smith. That's because he either got 1 or 0. I didn't double check, but I think it was 0.
He shattered his leg into 1,000 pieces in week.
Yeah, but he still played 10 weeks, and a quarterback not doing anything for 10 weeks is not good.
That's actually really surprising. For all 10 of those weeks, we only gave him, between the 4 people that do this show regularly, we gave him 1 game ball.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I told you guys, though. I mean, when he left, we were at a turnover ratio of plus 13.
Yeah.
And then heading into this past week, we were at plus 7. Let's see, we had 2 turnovers, so we finished at plus 5. If my
right. So that's that is a big factor into the losing streak, no doubt. But he didn't really light it up at the same time either. We're talking about a guy who was regular putting up 150 and a touchdown kind of performances.
Yeah, roughly.
So,
My goodness.
But that kind of also tells you a little bit about how the season went, too, if you really want to think about it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it bears out what I've been saying all along, which is that Alex Smith, you're right about the turnovers, but fact of the matter is he didn't necessarily win us any games by himself. It was just like as the team got steadily more and more injured, him losing him was definitely a bad thing. But as the team got more and more injured, it just, I don't know, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Everything fell apart.
Yep.
Okay. Fascinating. So then congratulations to you, Alex. Very good job in predicting the game-by-game predictions here this season.
Maybe we need to send Adrian Peterson a trophy instead of Alex.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, go find a plastic hog trophy like we talked about and send it to Adrian Peterson. Don't put anything on it. Don't explain it. Just send him a trophy.
We're going to bring it to training camp and watch him just look befuddled next year.
But
hopefully he's here.
Assuming he's here, yeah.
Let's hope.
Yeah. All right.
Can you imagine,
awesome.
unless we're going to go interview Adrian Peterson and present him with this ugly, cheap trophy? Here you go.
We would immediately get uncredentialed.
We would.
Redskins.
Yeah,
There's so many things we should be uncredentialed for by now. If that's what gets us.
They haven't caught on to us yet.
That's absolutely true. Well, let's keep floating.
They don't know we're selling Fire Bruce shirts yet.
Yeah, my goodness. But there's a lot of murmurs about billboards going up about firing Bruce and all kinds of things. So actually, Redskins front office, don't listen to this next part, please, because we're going to wade through all of these murmurs and rumors.
Yeah, as long as they didn't listen to Alex's drunken rant there at halftime a couple weeks ago.
We're good. We'll be good. All right, fair enough. Well, we do have some Redskins news to talk about. Obviously, like we said, we have a wild card preview to do as well, but we do have Redskins news, so we should lead off with that. Now, the first topic that comes to my mind is the fact that there's been no moves yet in the coaching staff or in the front office, other than stuff like La Famina, which we talked about before. So Gruden had a presser the last couple days, did he not?
Yes, he did.
Yep, on Monday, right?
Straight from the horse's mouth and move on from there.
Yeah, it was on Monday. Okay, there's a couple, I thought, just mind-boggling things that came out of this presser. And this was a long one for Gruden. Normally, this went on almost 20 minutes, like 17 minutes, I think it was, which is a long time for one of these pressers. And, the first thing that just boggled my mind is they're asking him about what conversations he's had with the front office. And he went, I haven't had any.
Yeah.
Nobody's talked to me. He said, I haven't had any talks yet. I have no idea when they'll take place, but I know they'll take place. I'll just have to kind of wait and see what happens. It's like, who cares? The season's over.
Yeah. I think he even started the presser saying, I don't even know why we're doing this press conference.
Yeah, I'm skipping around. Yeah, that was his very first line was, I don't really know why I'm up here, to be honest with you. That was the very first thing he told the press. But here's the other
We are a shit show right
It's philosophical, Gruden. That's what we're getting right now.
It's like, I don't know. He was like so defeated.
Yeah.
The other eye-opening thing that came out of this presser to me was that he's criticizing the front office a little bit.
Yeah, he was pretty open about some problems there.
Yeah, he was criticizing the communication amongst the front office. And I think I'm reading the wrong quote here, but I'll find the other one. But he says, they're asking him on improving communications between the coaching staff and front office, and he says, well, it starts with once I get the word I have to pass along, we have to do a better job of executing the plan. We try to do that. We just haven't done a good job, obviously. And there's another spot in here. I'm going to get it. I'll find it here in a minute. But he basically said the front office needs to do a better job communicating, which is like the most obvious thing ever. For anybody who's watched this team for more than 5 minutes, but to have the head coach say that in public, particularly since they just cut a player for saying virtually the same thing about coaches,
Yeah, but I think Gruden,
he's more eloquent about it than DJ was.
Gruden was saying pretty frequently, if I'm back, because he hasn't had those conversations with Snyder. And, I don't think they're going to fire him at this point. If they did, they would look even more like a clown show than they are.
Yeah. I mean, there's been teams are a week into this already. I mean, for those of you who are rooting for Gruden to get fired, still, it's
not going to happen.
Even the Redskins aren't this dumb. Okay,
no,
you don't fire a coach a week after everybody else has started their coaching search,
right?
Particularly when you would struggle to find a coach better than Jay Gruden, because this entire team is a huge mess right now, and you're not going to get like Jim Harbaugh.
No,
I'm going to sign up for Washington.
The only shot you'd have is if you think you've got a diamond in the rough guy that you really wanted, and they obviously don't, because they would have hired Gruden by now to make it happen.
We had him on staff here for.
We did.
So, yeah.
We did. That's true.
Whoops.
Well,
no, I bet. Well, yeah, but I mean, to be fair, people need to, because I see this a lot.
Yeah, we should have fired Gruden then. Yeah. You see that all the time.
That's not realistic, okay?
No.
They were never going to fire Jay Gruden coming off a division championship playoff appearance to promote the quarterback coach. That just was never going to happen. No team would do that. The Rams looked foolish at the time and took a huge chance, but that just wasn't realistic. That's great. Sounds great in hindsight, but that's just foolish,
But can we all agree, Steve, that he has not performed as a coach well enough to really keep his job, and the fact of the matter is he's going to stay here because he's saved by the contract and he's saved by sort of the bad optics and the fact that there aren't going to be any other good candidates. But what I'm asking you is, should he be fired in an ideal world?
Of course. Hey, I wrote a column about this. I wrote a column that said, let's fire everybody. Because I think Jay's a nice guy in what little we've seen of him, because we've been to some pressers of his and stuff. He's a nice guy. He's I think he's too soft. And I don't mean pillow soft. I mean, I think he's too. He seems
too much
like
of a player's coach is what the popular way to say it would be now.
I think weirdly enough, when he came here, I thought the West Coast offense was pretty progressive in the way he ran it. in the way it kind of operated. But now, after the NFL has progressed so much and has gone to these mobile quarterbacks and more of a downfield presence, like guys like Goff can toss the ball downfield, Jay's offense seems like it's kind of stuck in the mud a little bit.
Let's also be fair. What we saw them run all this season was not a West Coast offense at all. No, it was a power run offense. Yeah. With a couple of dink and dunk passes in between, but there was nothing traditional West Coast about what they did this year. And I've never really been sold on this Jay's a West Coast guy anyway.
Well, I think he's definitely a West Coast guy.
His brother's a West Coast guy. Jay is a vertical arena-oriented guy, and, you can't really do that in the NFL, but most of his routes are based in that.
I mean, they do run that four verticals play, quite a bit. I think Jay is actually he's pretty good at adapting to what he has. This is, I think, the strength of
roster-wise. Yes, I think so.
Yeah, the strength of Jay Gruden is he's willing to adapt. I think his natural state is West Coast offense. And I get what you're saying, Alex, about, arena ball. I understand that. But I think his natural state, if he had his druthers, would be mostly West Coast offense, quick outs, square outs, swing passes to the running backs, shallow crossers, dig routes, that kind of thing. And then he's willing to try the deep ball to keep things honest. I think that's with Jay's natural state. We just didn't have that ability. We didn't have the quarterback. We didn't have the receiver.
We haven't had the receiver since Jackson left, frankly.
Right.
Yeah.
But if he had his druthers, I think that's what he would want. I think what he would ideally want to do is like 2016 offense with a running game. That's what he would want, with a capable running back.
Sure.
I think that's Jay Gruden's natural state, but he's pretty good at kind of adapting. Like, he knew we had a bunch of Gorick, right, this year. He knew that Adrian Peterson was the only guy who could do anything, and so he fed him the ball as much as possible. I mean, Jay's pretty good at adapting, but I think Jay's just mediocre at the end of it all.
Yeah, I think he is very much a average coach. Nice guy. He doesn't lose the locker room, which is pretty impressive. I mean, we kind of saw some close stuff this year with the Swearinger debacle.
Yeah, I was going to say
they cut him too, right instantly, which was the right move.
Right,
but when
again,
I think about the
he hasn't totally lost it. Yeah,
I don't know. I think see, that's the thing. I don't know that he has the. I mean, Swearinger's comments and his tweets weren't the first time we've heard the accusation that Gruden's practices are undisciplined, that he's not necessarily the kind of coach that's going to strike fear or get results from his players. We've heard that accusation quite a bit over his tenure here. So,
and we also heard the Patriots say something similar when they were here 3 years ago in training camp. They said number one, Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback than RG3, and then they said number two, this team just doesn't practice up to our standards. And of course they're the Patriots, and they've been the best for 20 years, but those are the two things that I thought were striking out of that.
No, that was more than 3 years ago now, though. I think that was 5 years ago.
No, it was when we were doing this show.
It was our first season, though, which was
2015, right?
No, 14.
5 years ago,
I don't know. It seemed like forever. We've been doing this show forever at this point.
Yeah.
The point never ends. But the point is, all that stuff is kind of proven true. That's my point. And so Jay is okay. Jay's not going to embarrass himself. He's not gonna. It's not gonna be just a complete disaster. Out there. But I don't think Jay is the type of guy that's has the moxie and the whatever you want to say to lead a team to the championship. I don't think
not a team run with this organization, maybe. But I think you take a coach like that, you put him in a well-run organization. You get like a Gary Kubiak in Denver situation going. Same kind of. Well, that's an very average coach, but you put a superstar quarterback, a superstar defense there, and he can take them pretty deep.
I mean, Peyton Manning makes a lot of people look good.
Right. Exactly. But that's my point. Jay Gruden's no different than a Gary Kubiak. No, not really even like a Mike McCarthy, who's very much one of the most unoriginal offensive minds there ever was, apparently. And
if you look at the stuff that Mike McCarthy runs.
Yeah,
the routes he calls, that his play design is very basic. And he's basically relying on Aaron Rodgers to do absolutely everything, which is not an effective use of your star franchise quarterback.
No,
I think that's why Aaron Rodgers got frustrated this year, was exactly that.
But I'm just saying the NFL's full of very average coaches who have had success,
and we have one.
Yeah,
we have one.
Minus the success because we're a below average team.
Yeah. So he's actually a positive.
Yes.
If you want to look at it like that.
Wow, way to flip that, guys. All right. Well, anything else about Gruden before we move on to our next topic, which is much more about the Skins franchise and the fact that it's failing in multiple
crumbling.
ways.
Well, yeah, we'll say I'm not going to read any more quotes about the Jay presser, but he mentioned Alex Smith. It's pretty clear that it's still. He said it's a long process for Alex. He's still recovering, but the fact that he mentioned him and talked about him, I thought was meaningful. He mentioned Colt McCoy. He said we still have Colt McCoy. You guys have to remember that Colt is like Jay's best son.
Yeah,
exactly. Right.
Yeah, he's got to let go of that.
Yeah. He's the Jon Snow to Jay's Ed Stark,
There you go.
He's the bastard son.
Ed
I
Stark.
like that.
Not Ed Stark.
His full name was Edard Stark, so.
Oh, I'm
Hey,
sorry.
he's
I guess
technically
you're
right.
more. Yeah, I guess you're more of a Game of Thrones nerd than even I am. He mentioned Monte Nicholson. Said there's no update. Said there's no update on Reuben Foster either. Mentioned Clinton Dix. Said he liked what Clinton Dix did, and it took him a while to kind of get in there, and that's being generous. I think.
I think they realize they can't go into the offseason needing two safeties. They got to play nice with Dix.
They have to have at least a guy who can play safety, even if he can't tackle to save his life.
Right.
Which he can't. Mentioned Scherf. Said Scherf is his recovery's going very well, so that's good news.
He called him a weirdo at one point, which was great.
I got it right in front of me. He says he's already probably doing push-ups, the weirdo, but he'll be fine.
I actually like that quote.
Yeah.
Way to put a little bit of good nature.
They asked him about Preston Smith. The first thing he said is, "Yeah, he's a free agent."
Yeah.
So read into that.
See you, Preston.
Yeah.
Pretty clear what he's saying there.
Later, dude.
Okay, well, nice and bright, cheery stuff there. Let's talk about moving to a slightly bigger topic this week, which is obviously we've been saying for weeks that nothing's going to change with Jay because for all the reasons you just said, saved by the contract, whatever.
Right.
Let's talk about some other interesting things that came out. So, Sally Jenkins wrote this article. Probably most Skins fans are very familiar and comfortable with this article that came out this week. Pretty much just giving Snyder an extremely hard time. She was pretty rough on him, which is justified for many reasons. Steinberg also tweeted, some things about this, just basically about the NFL owners being embarrassed and very frustrated with Dan Snyder and the state of the Skins.
Yep.
To put a little context on that, I'll just throw out there, Skins got the league's biggest attendance drop from last year to this year, which was 19% of a drop in viewership, in attendance to games. Right. Second worst was the Bucks, who lost 9%. So we're significantly.
And I bet you the Bucks weren't filling their team with the stadium with opposing fans either.
Yeah,
remember
exactly.
the real drop was a whole lot more precipitous than 19%.
That's right. I think that's a great thing to point out. So, state of the Skins is obviously not good. What were your guys' thoughts on this Jenkins article and Steinberg's tweets?
My initial thought is that I don't think this is a surprise. I don't think it's not a surprise to me to hear that the owners don't respect Dan Snyder very much.
No.
Because he's a terrible owner. I'm sorry, Redskins, but, the history, your record is what it is. We have a history in this franchise of making poor, rushed decisions, decisions that look like you're trying to catch lightning in a bottle, and that's not how you win football. That may be how you win basketball games. You can go get LeBron James and do pretty well. That's not how football works. You don't sign Deion Sanders,
right?
And think that's going to do something. For example, to go back 20 years, ago. So it's not surprising to me. And we've also heard for a while now that Bruce is in the same boat. Her article said that Bruce is. She didn't use the word laughing stock, but it was something like that.
A joke.
It was like Bruce is a joke or something like that.
Yeah.
That's not surprising to me either.
Well, it's surprising to me in that I think when Bruce was hired here, most of the reaction was, well, he's a really good football guy. There was praise for him early.
The reputation I'd always been aware of with Bruce Allen was he wasn't a very good talent evaluator, but he was really good with the salary cap.
Right.
That was kind of Bruce's rep. And I think, although I wrote an article, a year ago, that showed that his drafts are at least as good as Scott McLuhan's.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Bruce is – it's hard for me to say Bruce is completely at fault for all these drafts because somebody's advising him. The
Scott
Redskins –
McLuhan had one season to do really well. I mean, Bruce Allen has had so much more time to acquire talent, so it's not even a fair comparison.
Fair enough.
Selling McLuhan short.
So its point is, am I surprised that Sally Jenkins was able to dig up NFL people that said they don't like Dan and they think Bruce is a joke? No, that doesn't surprise me in any way. And the evidence for it is that Dan is not on any important committees at the NFL.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. So, does it matter to Dan Snyder's bottom line, which we all know is reigns supreme in his mind, is bottom line and the money? Does it really matter if the Skins' attendance dropped this year in terms of how much money he's making? Because my understanding is with the television contracts and the broadcasting contracts, it's kind of shared amongst all the owners. And if viewership in general in the NFL is up, it doesn't necessarily hurt him. Is that correct?
Well, I think you're in the black no matter what. You start off in the black.
Right.
And, Steve has studied that stuff a whole lot, and he knows all the numbers back and forth. But the one thing that these articles that have come out in the Post and other places have said is the drop in attendance, it has hurt Snyder in the pocketbook. It's not going to ruin him, but we're talking about losing something around $18 million, I think was what the Post said in one of their articles over the course of the season.
Okay.
I didn't know it was that
how
much.
It works?
Yeah. Well, and I know that revenue is partly shared, too, yes.
Okay. There's what's called shared revenue.
Right.
And then there are local revenue that isn't shared, okay? So what's shared is the TV revenue,
right,
merchandising, NFL-level sponsorships, and there's a couple other things. And they fight over – that's like the single biggest point of contention in the collective bargaining agreement because the shared revenue – is how the players' share is calculated. So
right, and that's something like $250 million just from the TV, and
Well, that's
per team.
That was last year per team.
Right.
So what's local revenue, and this is what Jerry Jones revolutionized, the local sponsorships. Like if the Dallas Cowboys are sponsored by Pepsi.
Right.
I think it was Pepsi in
that lawsuit. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was Coke. At the time with the NFL. That's local revenue. Ticket revenue is local, okay?
Right.
And so the idea that we are, 15,000 or so down per game in ticket revenue, that does hurt Dan Snyder's bottom line. But my point is, it's almost impossible unless you're literally if you're stealing money from the franchise would be the only way to actually lose money.
Right.
Because
you're not losing money.
Revenue, it's so big, the TV revenue, that the 1/32nd share of the NFL's gross revenue is so humongous that's literally impossible to lose money.
It's impossible to lose it, yes, but I'm just saying, if you're looking at your ledger and you say, hey, last year we made, and let's say after everything, $100 million, and now this year you're saying, why do we only make $80 million? You're going to notice that drop, and any good business notices that drop off, and they're going to panic about that kind of drop off. That's a huge drop.
You got to also remember, that it's a huge drop off, and that's also gross revenue.
Right.
When Sally threw out the number $252 million, what that was the 2017 split. Now the TV revenue's gone way up this year.
Right.
Okay, and so it's going to be up to more like $400 million, ballpark.
For the TV revenue, yeah.
And no, for the gross revenue.
Oh, okay.
Total. That's not including local revenue. And so what hurt Dan, if Dan has a bad reputation, I think, is and he has a reputation of the fans kind of stopping caring about the team.
Yeah.
That's when the local sponsorships start to get hurt. If it's not as valuable to Pepsi to put a Pepsi billboard up at FedEx Field, for example,
right.
Pepsi, they may do it, but it's not going to be worth as much money. And so that has a kind of a long-term cumulative effect.
Right, those ads for My Plumber, that they're the official sponsor of the Redskins, and every other, like Tostitos is the official potato chip or tortilla chip of the Redskins. All that nonsense goes down.
I've drafted those agreements.
Yeah,
and it's the money is based on how many eyeballs can get on the Coke ad, and what
that's
kind of
all
reputation.
advertising. It's that every. Your cable TV, like advertising goes up and down every, once in a while based off of how many people watch a show. That's how advertising works.
So I think what's fair to say, the Redskins aren't losing money, okay?
No.
And so it's not accurate to say that. What is accurate to say is that his net revenue has very likely fallen.
And probably fallen at a noticeable number. Yes.
Right, a number that while he's still filthy rich and he's not going to be in the soup kitchen anytime soon, and it's not like the Dodgers, back when Frank McCourt was leaving, who they were bankrupt and he had to take a loan to even make
payments,
administrative personnel salaries, not even player salaries. We're nowhere near that. And it's not going to be that because the NFL is like this communist share everything deal. Yeah. But it's like his gross revenue has gone down.
Yeah, and I think that's just it right there. That's the important thing for fans to remember. They see a 19% attendance drop, and some people are probably thinking, oh, well, this will make him likely to sell the team, or this will yield immediate results. And I think the important thing is what you just said, Steve, which is that he's still making money off of this. It would be very difficult not to. And that's why football is not quite like any other business that you're going to come across.
Now, the one last thing I'll point out about the ticket revenue, and Steve, you can correct me, but I believe that revenue is shared between the two teams that play each week, 60-40 or something like that.
It's shared somewhat,
when, Dan Snyder's playing someone like, let's say, the Houston Texans, who don't have a big fan base on the East Coast, and 20,000 people show up, and the Texans are like, hey, how come we only made $1 million off this game? They'll get pissed about that.
Well, and the biggest sign, though, you got to remember, is this is the most important thing. The team valuation list that Forbes puts out every year, the Redskins are behind only the Patriots and the Cowboys. Now, we'll see what happens when the new list comes out, but that's the most important sign, is that the team valuation is still huge compared to every other team, and it's because of all these – he's mastered the local sponsorship thing, and he's making a ton of money off the stadium. Because most team owners do not own their own stadiums. Yeah. There's only a handful that do. And so that's a huge revenue stream because how it usually works is, the county will take a percentage share of the parking revenue and the gate revenue or the refreshments revenue, and then the team will get a little bit, some of it. Well, in this case, Dan's taking it all because he owns the stadium. And so that's a big part of the revenue.
Right, but if he's taking it all and no one's showing up, then he's taking,
it's a different pot of money, okay? Yeah. And I don't know how Forbes is valuing it because the entity that owns the stadium is not the Washington Redskins.
Right.
It's I forget the name, but it's another
Washington Football Incorporated or something like that. It's got
something like that.
Yeah.
I looked it up for that show we did about it. But
yeah.
There you go. Anything else about Steinberg, Jenkins, team valuations, attendance, that kind of thing? Because the other topic we have is obviously these murmurs of closed-door meetings after the Eagles game that we've heard about the last week.
We got to hear about that.
Let's just jump to that.
Okay, so that story is contextual for people who haven't seen this, although probably most fans have. The story from Burgundy Blog picked it up, and a bunch of people picked it up from there. Snyder stayed at FedEx Field for about 8 hours after the Eagles game, which obviously we all know how that happened. Didn't go well. Bruce Allen was with him for those meetings, is what we've heard. Jay Gruden was not. The other things we've heard are that Chris Cooley was invited for a portion of it. Chris Cooley, we can get to that in a second. So anyways, that's where we can start. There was a series of very serious closed-door meetings.
Well, and you got to tell us how the meeting ended.
Well, how did the meeting end?
With Dan Snyder going on a tropical vacation, right?
Yes, that's how most of his meetings end, I believe, is he heads off to the Bahamas or something.
He always jumps on Redskins 1 and opens a bottle of Jack Daniels and flies somewhere, Usually it's to find a GM or a coach.
Isn't it kind of like Saddam Hussein escaping Baghdad, right as, the 3rd Infantry Division's marching in?
But Saddam, hit out and did it. Dan does it in a jet.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, but I just see this, the walls are literally collapsing around him, and there goes Redskins 1. Who cares?
Right.
Look, first of all, the idea that the Redskins had a meeting at 10 in the morning on the Monday after the season is nothing new. You shouldn't read anything into that. They do it every year, and it's just a standard year-end thing that the team does.
Yep. The meeting going until 3 is a bit weird, I feel like.
I think that's entirely within Dan Snyder's character. He's done this kind of thing before. He's had meetings with the senior staff late in the middle of the night when they're boozing it up and talking about what to do. That's how Mike Shanahan was hired, basically.
That's true. I do remember that story.
It was a boozy late night. We got to go get Dan Snyder, so they rolled out drunk onto Redskins 1 and flew to Denver.
Right.
That's basically how Mike Shanahan ended up in Washington. So that does not surprise me. What does surprise me is that Dan would just take off and leave in the midst of all the chaos. That surprised me.
Well,
it disappointed me. It doesn't surprise me. It disappointed me.
And to do it without talking to your head coach about, hey, you're going to stay on. Or
then you let him, knowing he had a press conference, that because we knew about the press conference.
Everyone
Thursday,
knew. It's SOP, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely fair. Now, there is, I think, one thing that people can, if this story is true, can accurately read into this. Because you're right, having a meeting after a devastating loss in the end of the season is not anything out of the ordinary. But if anyone's looking for movement on Bruce Allen, thinking Bruce Allen's a huge issue and he needs to be fired, the fact that Bruce Allen was supposedly there for these closed-door meetings is probably a pretty good indication, if this story is true, that he's not going anywhere, which is the same,
No one's going anywhere. I mean, we've seen literally, they haven't even fired, the janitor.
That's right. Only
poor
Lafamina.
Yeah.
Leave the janitor alone, man.
No, I think the janitor is doing a fine job. The guy who repaints the field, maybe not, but the janitor.
I think we knew when the team let Brian Lafamina and his people go.
Yeah, that was their
Bruce
move.
is pulling the strings there.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's Bruce. That's Bruce. Winning a power play once again. So there's no surprise that Bruce. He's got some, mystic. He's got some kind of magic ring that just puts Dan Snyder under a spell. Anytime he comes in, within radius of him or something. If I were the leader of the team, knowing what the shape of the fan base, that's a horrible way to say it. Knowing how the fan base
we know what
was
you mean.
kind of in an uprising,
Yeah.
I think he should have stayed. I think a real leader would have stood up in front of the media himself and said, listen, this season has gone lousy. It's my fault. I'm the owner. I should have done a better job with all this, and I promise you I'm going to make it better.
Yeah, but
he should have said something like that.
But do you think anyone in that meeting for 8 hours said, hey, Dan, you realize it's pitchfork and torches time out there?
No, because they're a bunch of sycophantic yes
Right.
men around.
So he has no idea.
That's right.
The only one who
like,
was
fire up
supposedly
Twitter,
in that meeting and knows that is Chris Cooley, and Chris Cooley's not going to say that
Well,
even.
I refuse to believe Tony Wiley doesn't know what's going on.
Well, Tony might.
Tony knows.
But, do we know Tony was in the meetings?
No, I don't.
We don't.
know Tony was in the meeting, but Tony's a senior vice.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, the only names that they've ever said it's the people who are the stakeholders, Bruce Allen, and then Chris Cooley was there for an hour apparently.
And can I just bring up Cooley? I know fans.
I want to say something about him too. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, my view of it is, I love Cooley. Great guy. Mr. Happy Fun Time. Clearly knows more about football than all of us ever will.
Yeah,
he's great at that. But why the hell does anybody think Chris Cooley needs to be anywhere near running anything? Just because a man played football and he can do breakdowns on the radio does not mean that he knows a thing about scouting at an NFL level.
So don't hire Robbie or Adam, our old friends, as my GMs when I own a team. That's what you're saying.
For them personally, I hope it happens for them, But I just mean generally speaking.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Well, two things about Cooley. I think, one, he is a guy that is beloved by the fans. And I feel like his presence at that meeting is more related to that than anything else. I don't think they're considering him for some front office position or he's expected to save the franchise or anything like that. But I think he is really close with the fans. People really like him. And if they're, if that meeting was in any way about attendance issues, I can sort of see why he was there. The other thing about Cooley is that, I hate to say this, but he's always kind of been a Bruce Allen guy. He's been very nice about Bruce Allen. He said some, you talked about sycophantic yes men, and he might sort of be falling into that category because I think he's very...
he spends too much time with Larry Michaels, the problem.
There you go. That's a perfect way. And people will know exactly what you mean by that.
Yes.
So I think that, that's the two things about Cooley being there. I don't think he's actually... being, considered for some sort of really important front office position or anything. I think mostly it's fan experience, and they probably want to figure out how to get fans back in the seats. And also, he's another yes man to Bruce Allen in a way. He's always been very,
I mean,
very
they don't know
generous.
what they're going to do with him now that he's off the radio every day. So he's got to...
Well, and this is why I said, weeks ago that the true answer, if somebody was being honest to Dan, and I think it would really take his partners, like the minority owners, to tell him this. But I think the real answer is to fire everybody. And this is why I said everybody needs to go. Because when you have a bunch of sycophants around you and nobody's telling the truth, and particularly when you're a poor leader in and of itself and you just can't figure it out on your own, which you literally can't, you need somebody strong and honest around you who knows what's going on, and that's the opposite of this crowd. you know? And so that's why I think the only way to really fix the problem is just flush everything.
Yeah, even the ones you like. I mean, if you're going to do it, you got to go clean house, and that means guys like Schaefer and Smith.
Schaefer's the general counsel. If Dan goes, Schaefer goes too. I think he plays a bigger role than people realize because the general counsel is advising the owner directly on all sorts of stuff. So but you're right, Alex. I mean, it's a case of everything needs to go. Yeah. Absolutely every single person except the janitor and the receptionist and people like that. Yeah. But everybody in a position of authority needs to go, and then you hire somebody to just do it. And rebuild it from like an expansion team level rebuild. That's how to do it.
I think every single fan is right on the same page with you on that, Steve, and it's just depressing because the Redskins have made no moves or any indication that any of that's going to happen.
And I'll give you one reason why it won't work. Dan Snyder.
Bingo.
Because
he is the rot of this team.
Even if because in the end, he's going to have to hire someone who can work with him. And the people who are good at this are guys like Brian LaFemina who tell the truth, and Dan doesn't want to hear that. So there's no way that even if you cleared house, you're just going to get another Vinny Serrato in there eventually because Dan will just keep fire. He might bring on someone good for 6 months, but he'll fire him, and then he'll bring in somebody who is like a yes man again.
And can we address Joe Gibbs' presence at the last game real quick?
Joe Gibbs, who in the pictures of him looking at Dan Snyder looks like he's about to slap Dan Snyder for what's going on.
Yeah, that, I think you just caught him on a weird camera angle.
But it's like 4 or 5 pictures. That's a weird thing.
I mean, Joe, we all love Joe, obviously.
Yeah, St. Joe.
He's 78 years old.
No, he's not coming back.
And he's running a NASCAR team. So he's not going to – if anybody had that thought, that he was invited there to kind of be the next guy in the office or to replace Bruce and he's a name and all that, I mean, maybe we're wrong. Who knows? But I think that's extremely unlikely given the circumstances.
Now, if Joe Gibbs was – if Dan went to Joe and said, Joe, help me find somebody, that I could see. He
does have some like honorary advisory title.
Right. Yeah.
With the team. So, I mean, if he could be like, the Dick Cheney to George Bush when Dick was trying to find a vice president.
Right.
I mean, and Dick found himself, back then. But that's the kind of role, I think Joe would play. But Joe's not coming back to run a team.
No.
His sons are running the NASCAR team with him. He doesn't want to do all this on a day-to-day basis.
Any interviews you've seen with him, he's happy as a clam right now. Yeah. Doing what he's doing.
Right.
All right, so any last lingering thoughts on front office stuff, lack of moves, any other things that stick out to you before we
I got to say, I am surprised that they haven't even fired an assistant head coach at this point.
I'm a little surprised, and I'm not sure that the team really understands what's going to happen next year. I mean, unless they come up with, something amazing in free agency or the draft.
Yeah. Like, unless you find a superstar quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've already talked about this, the odds are against it.
Yeah.
Just from a monetary perspective. I mean, they're not bringing in some big-name quarterback. They're not paying Kirk Cousins money to anybody.
No.
Unless that happens and there's a reason for fans to get excited, I think we're about to see the most apathetic fan base in Redskins history next year. Mm-hmm. They're just not going to buy it. Maybe something will change in the 6 months we have to wait. I doubt it. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to see nobody at training camp. The stadium's going to be more empty than it was. And I think we're going to learn a new definition of rock bottom.
Yep. And guess what will happen the next year? After that, we'll learn another new definition of rock bottom.
We'll learn a new one.
Yep. A new one. Yeah. Because, I mean, again, unless they just strike gold with a quarterback, the team isn't going to improve itself up to like, a 10-6, 11-5 level. If you want a bit of hope to end this segment, here's the hope to me. If you can get Alex Smith back, he's clearly the best quarterback we have, and the team figures out how to stay healthy. They were 6-3 at one point in time. Mm-hmm. And so if you got everything kind of clicking, maybe we could end up 9-7, 10-6. It wasn't a huge stretch to imagine that this year, even in spite of all the negativity.
Right.
So, I mean, if you want a bit of positive, that's it. I just don't think that is enough to turn the fan base into excited again.
Yeah, and I got to say, Steve, I think you're right to some degree about what you just said, but the fact of the matter is Alex Smith leading this team it was maybe enough to win a cup, maybe two more games, we would have won. But Alex Smith-led Redskins, at least what we saw this year, they weren't going anywhere in the playoffs. They were not going to be able to seal the deal and go to the Super Bowl and win it, even with him on board. So it's just, I know you wanted to end it on a hopeful note, but I just got to say.
You just had to destroy my hopefulness.
Yeah, a little bit. I think we just got to be realistic. The team, even when they were 6-3, the team was not there to compete with the league's top talent. I think we can all pretty much agree on that.
Yeah. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here, It's that simple.
Exactly. You know what? You took the words right out of my mouth.
They weren't going to go beat the Saints.
No.
The
They're not that caliber of offense. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's put that depressing stuff aside. We can talk about something other than the Redskins, thank God. So, we have the wild card round of the playoffs coming up. We've got two division rivals playing in that round. Let's talk about which game you guys want to go for.
Let's go through the AFC first, since I'm sure we all care less about the AFC.
Probably true. Okay. Where do you guys want to start?
Well, I mean, the schedule, for those who are interested, the first game Saturday afternoon is Colts and Texans. And then that Saturday night is Seahawks, Cowboys, and then Sunday early game is Chargers, Ravens, and then Eagles, Bears. So let's just go straight down and talk about Colts, Texans first.
All right, let's do that. But can I ask you guys a quick question up first? Now that the Redskins are out of the picture, what team are you guys pulling for to take it all the way?
Well, I'm petty, so I mean, I root for anybody who's playing the Cowboys and the Eagles first.
Sure.
And if they can get them out early, and I don't have to worry about it, I don't have to worry about building up my hatred.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to root for somebody I like. Probably the Saints or the Bears.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
One of the two.
I'm gonna stay a little homerish and go with the Rams. Just I want Sean McVay to do good things because I think he was a good guy when he was here.
Wow. Okay, fair enough. And I'm going Ravens. So we're all picking different teams. There we go.
Fun.
I like Lamar Jackson. I'm rooting for Lamar Jackson to do well.
Okay.
There you go. Okay.
Hey, that's the first time you've ever spoken positively about the Ravens, I think, too.
Me?
That's probably true. Yeah, I think you're right, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I speak negatively about the hateful, awful human beings that reside in Philadelphia all the time.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of subhumanoid cretins live in Philadelphia, and I've written nothing but pain and agony on them, except for Alex's family.
Yeah,
and my sister, who just
even
moved
then,
there.
I'm really not rooting for him.
Oh, Sean's family too, then.
Yeah, Sean's family too.
My sister's a new Philadelphian. Okay, let's do this. Colts, Texans, both teams that beat us this year, right? Unless I'm getting that wrong.
No, you're right. You got it.
All right. Woo! So, actually, in fact, to bring the Redskins into this a little bit, the Texans game was where we lost Smith and everything started going to shit. So, Are we all Colts fans for this game at least?
Here's what I'll say about the Colts. And you're going to see this on our written playoff preview that's going to be published Friday, I guess. And I'm not going to go bore everybody on the air with all the numbers because you can read them. But the way our system kind of breaks out, it shows what teams are the most consistent and capable on offense and defense. At least they were in the regular season. And the Colts, surprisingly, ranked higher than the Texans, graded out higher than the Texans by our system. And so what I do briefly is I will mix all of the statistical categories for all the important categories in offense and defense, rank order them from 1 to 12, and then 1 to 6 in each conference, and average them all out, and add them and average them, and whatever comes out, how it comes out. And the Colts graded out pretty much higher than you would think for a number 6 seed. The AFC in general has a lot of have and have-nots. That's a bad way to say it. They have a lot of teams that are really good either on offense but not on defense.
Or vice versa.
There's no team that's really consistent. Usually there's one or two teams that are consistent in both ends, and that's just not the case in the AFC. And so I think the AFC is pretty wide open in that regard.
Well, the AFC has been kind of regarded as the weaker conference the last couple of years now, it feels like. So.
Well, for example, Kansas City, by far and away, and it's not close, had the most capable offense by far in the entire NFL, but particularly in the playoffs.
But they're like a Big 12 team. They don't have any defense.
They have no defense at all. They are I'm on the wrong page. Thought I had defense. They are last, and they're first in offense and last in defense.
Right.
Okay.
Wow.
And so it's like the Chargers in 1978. The Dan Fouts Chargers. If they get a team who can really play defense and slow them down, they're in trouble. and that could happen in the playoffs.
Right.
So, but in terms of the Colts and the Texans, I think the Colts have a better shot than people think, even understanding it's in Houston, because the Colts are pretty balanced. They've been on a decent roll. What's his name? Andrew Luck has done pretty well this year.
He's improved all throughout the season, which is big.
Yeah. They are 7-1 in their last 8 games. They played 7 games against winning teams this year, which is second only to the Rams. Played 8. The Rams and Eagles played 8.
That's a good. Statistic.
Yeah, they only won 4 of those games, but remember they built up and they've been really good in the last half of the season. So I think the Colts have a pretty good shot against the Texans.
Well, the Texans are pretty devastated with injuries as well right now, aren't they?
Well, I mean, they're the guys that usually go out. J.J. Watt usually has an annual devastating injury, and that didn't happen.
Right.
That's true.
DeAndre Hopkins is upright. Deshaun Watson is upright. They have some problems on the offensive line, but I think they're much healthier than they usually are, which is why they won their conference or their division, because they stayed healthy. They have talent. They just aren't healthy. That's the curse of the Texans.
Yep. Amen.
So our team doesn't have talent and isn't healthy.
Right.
Both,
Right.
Yeah. So I think to lend some context to what you were saying, Steve, that Indianapolis's offense is ranked well above Houston's. Their defenses are pretty even. But just to go over what they did to us, Texans' offense had 16 points against us. Colts had 21. I think they have the edge definitely on offense. In defense, I just feel like the Colts are more adaptable. I mean, if you remember what they did to us, they were killing us with those pick plays. I know this was really early in the season.
Yeah.
But they were killing us with those pick plays.
Killing us on the ground game, too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's clearly a team that knows who they're playing and knows how to play to that. So I'm actually going to give the Colts definitely have the advantage in offense. They're pretty close in defense, but I think the Colts are probably a little bit better coached. I'm going Colts all the way in this one. Yeah. And that's not even considering the fact that Houston's really banged up.
Well, and I'd add to that the Texans have a better run defense than they do a pass defense. They are number 1 amongst the playoff teams in rushing yards per attempt defense. Passing yards per attempt, they're 10th. Passing yards are 9th. And so they're more successful stopping the run. And Indianapolis is really based on, how goes Andrew Luck? So goes Andrew Luck. So goes the Colts. And so I think the Colts are built to give the Texans a pretty good game, even understanding, again, that it's on the road.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I wouldn't change anything about what you just said. So, actually, this is interesting. Do we want to try to venture guesses about scores with these playoff games, or should we?
Oh God,
should we leave that to the real experts that actually follow these?
I say let's leave that to the real experts. Let's predict wins and losses, but I'm not predicting scores.
Okay.
I'm with you guys too. I think Colts win this thing. I think we're all.
That's an upset.
Yeah.
Upset. Colts upset.
Yeah.
Wow. We're all calling Colts upset.
Yep.
I like it.
Yep.
Okay. Beautiful. Should we move on then to our next matchup? What'd you say next, Steve? Seahawks, Cowboys? Or?
Yeah, that's the sad. You want to finish out the AFC?
Yeah, let's just do them in order.
Okay.
Forget what I said about. Yeah.
Okay, Chargers, Ravens. Chargers are the number 5 seed. Ravens are the number 4 seed. This game is Sunday at 1 o'clock. What you need to know about the Ravens is the Ravens have the second best defense in the playoffs.
They're killing it on defense.
They are killing it on defense, at least as measured by what they did in the regular season.
Conventional statistics, yeah.
By conventional statistics, yes. They've stopped everybody.
Mm-hmm.
They have a really good defense. And the way they run their offense is a lot like a college team.
Yep.
Because Lamar Jackson is a very unconventional quarterback, and I think he's got a very bright future in the NFL. I think he will become a better pocket passer as time goes on because he did it in college. He knows how to read the field. He knows how to pass the ball. He just needs some improvement in seasoning in that regard, but he's running like a madman.
Yeah.
He's doing he's sort of what RG3 tried to become and couldn't. Is what Jackson's been doing.
RG3 became it for a year, and then he got hurt. I think that's the difference.
Jackson hadn't gotten hurt. That's my point. Jackson hadn't gotten hurt. He's figured out how to protect himself. And so anyway, but the thing is, they're playing the Chargers.
Yeah.
Now, the Chargers are the best number 5 seed you will ever find. The Chargers are as good or better as any division winner there is in football. The Chargers were 12-5, 12-4. On the season. The Chargers Where are we? The Chargers had 7 road wins. Okay,
Yeah.
They won 7 games on the road. So the Chargers are an incredible team. Phillip Rivers is having an MVP quality season, and so this is like a test of strength on strength. In that you've got Phillip Rivers versus a fearsome defense, and then you've got Lamar Jackson who just needs to do his thing.
Yeah.
Who wins? I mean, I'll wait on my predictions, but this is an interesting game just because the Chargers are traveling on the road to Baltimore, who has a worse record than they do. But the Chargers were a more successful team.
Right. Although Baltimore, you have to remember, they didn't switch to Jackson until halfway through the season. So, I think that kind of sparked their offense, really, because let's face it, Joe Flacco doesn't do anything.
No, and look, Jackson's earned the respect of his teammates. They like him. They're following him.
Yeah.
He's done a really good job.
Hey, Flacco's going to be available this offseason, is he not?
Yeah.
Not for the money we can offer him. He's not.
Three nickels. Three nickels, and he could start.
He's not playing for pocket change.
That's right. Why would he ever want to come here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think all the things you said are right on. Look, I think Baltimore actually has the edge in fact, they do have the edge in both offense and defense. They're giving up less points and they're scoring more points per game. You're right, it's strength on strength, but I think the Ravens are going to edge out the Chargers on this one. I really like the Ravens.
Do you? I think what I would say about the Ravens is because I think their season-wide offensive statistics that I've put together are a bit skewed simply because of the quarterback change. If we'd seen Lamar Jackson all year, this might have been different. They had the number 6 ranked offense in the AFC. Okay, that's overall throughout the entire season, and it's just they were 10th. They're tied for 10th amongst all NFL. But because Jackson is the quarterback now, it's just things are different. It's not. They're the one team that's kind of. This process probably doesn't do them justice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My process.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with you. I like the Ravens, but just to change it up, I'm going to say the Chargers get this one. I don't know. I think they've been quietly one of those really great teams that no one pays attention to all year, just because they play in a mini stadium and in a city that no one people. Half the people don't even know they moved to LA.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Yeah,
they're a really good team that's been overlooked for longer than just the last couple of years. I feel like the Chargers have been pretty decent and have been overlooked for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, and also they've been playing in the same division as a juggernaut.
Right.
Right.
Which
always hurts.
Yes.
Yeah, right. And so I do think I agree with Alex. I disagree with Sean. I think the Chargers will win this game. They are just too good. I think Lamar is a rookie, and a rookie in a playoff game. You need a little seasoning usually to do well in those situations.
You can only run for your life so long.
Yeah. And so I think the Chargers will figure out how to win this game.
Fair enough. Okay. I said Ravens. You guys said Chargers. Very good. What's next? You got Eagles, Bears, or Seahawks, Cowboys?
Let's do Seahawks, Cowboys.
All right.
First.
2 teams I really can't stand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Meteor. Root for the Meteor.
Take off those stupid neon green uniforms. Just take them off.
They're awful.
I hate
They're
them.
terrible.
I hate them.
Yeah. We don't want to see them naked. We just put on some different uniform.
Well, the gray is fine and the blue is fine. Just
I didn't know what was wrong with that. I don't know why we have to look neon.
Right. Highlighter.
The good news is,
highlighter's not a good look.
The good news is this is in Dallas, and so they can't wear their neon stuff unless Dallas lets them. So that's the good news. Look, the Dallas Cowboys have the lowest ranked offense by my system overall in the playoffs.
Right.
12th in points, last in yards, last in red zone, 11th in passing yards. They've given up a ton of sacks. Their quarterback rating is lousy because Dak Prescott is a quarterback who's heavily reliant on a run game.
Right.
Even the thing about the Cowboys is they have this good run game, but the Seahawks are better.
Mm-hmm.
The Seahawks are a better run team than Dallas. So it's this is another case where they're kind of similar teams. Only I think the Seahawks are a little bit better, and the Seahawks had their ups and downs this year. They were they had some struggles throughout the season, but they did end up 10-6. They have a better run game. They have a much better quarterback in Russell Wilson. Defense, they're the number 1 rushing defense or rushing offense rather. In the league overall, and I think that Seattle, yes, I have a hard time picking Dallas or anything, but even objectively speaking, I think Seattle's kind of built to face the Dallas Cowboys, and only they're a little bit better.
Yeah. I can't disagree with anything you're saying there. I would love nothing more than to see Seattle put like 35 points up on Dallas, and Dallas doesn't do anything all game. But
that would be a beautiful sight.
It would be great.
Yeah.
It would really be great.
Yeah.
It's just I agree with everything you said, and I'll just add to that. Jason Garrett is a crap coach. I think it's a crap team. I can't believe they finished 10-6. That really surprises me. The only thing that I would say is
you can thank the refs blowing a call at the end of the Redskins game, the second Redskins game, for that 10-6 record.
Yeah.
That's a great point too. That's a great point.
Because the refs cost the Redskins a chip shot field goal that would have tied the game, or had us go ahead of the game.
That's right.
Sorry, Sean,
that's
I
right.
interrupted.
No, that's fine. I mean, the only thing that I can add to this in the Cowboys' favor is that they, we're playing at Jerry World, and they're really damn good at home. They've lost once at home this year, I believe, is the statistic. So,
well, I have that. If you want to know,
yes, confirm that for me so I don't look like a total idiot.
Okay. So they have played 7 games against winning teams. They have won 3 of those, and they have 3 road wins, okay? And so that means they won 7 games at home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So they are, and they've lost 1 at home. So they are very good at home. That's the one thing you can say. And who wouldn't be when you're, you got a full stadium, which is like amazing.
What's
imagine
that?
What that would be like. Yeah. And they've got, I don't know. I can see it being an inspiring moment for the Cowboys. But, I can't trust Jason Garrett. I cannot trust Dallas in the postseason. They always blow it. I'm going Seahawks for this one.
Alex is yawning. So.
Yeah, I'm yawning.
Sorry,
I'm bored with the Dallas Cowboys. I already said I want the Seahawks to win like 35-0. So.
Yeah, what do you think? What your objective opinion about what's going to happen?
My objective opinion is Seattle's going to win, but
35-0.
Yeah.
Let's all root for a 35-0 victory and put this playoffs out of our misery. So we don't have to worry about the stupid Dallas Cowboys.
All right. Can we talk about the other stupid team we don't want to worry about?
Yeah. Let's.
Yes,
right.
please.
All
Let's
right,
do
the
it.
next
Eagles
game,
Bears.
Eagles Bears. Now, the Bears are a very interesting team to me.
They are.
They're a fun team in a way.
You know
They're
what
healthy.
team? If you average out both offense and defense, do you know what team came out number 1 by my measure of every team in the playoffs?
Geez, Steve, is it the Bears?
It was the Bears.
Don't you
The
dare
Bears-
tell me it was the Bears.
The Bears had the best defense, and it's not close. And their offense, while not hugely capable, is not horrible. And so their combined average of everything was number 1. Their defense has been amazing. Okay.
Number 3 around the league.
Yeah, right. They are number 1 in almost every category among NFC teams on defense. They are a full point and a half higher, ranked higher on my system than any other team. They're number 1 in points, number 2 in yards, number 2 in passing yards, number 1 in opposing quarterback rating, number 1 in rushing yards. It goes on and on and on. The Bears' defense is very, very tough. On offense, not so much. They're a defensive reliant team, and they rely on Khalil Mack, and company to do their thing. Mitch, I refuse to call him Mitchell just because he likes it, so I'm going to call him Mitch.
Trubisky, yep.
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky is still learning, and he's done much better than I thought. I'll give him that credit. But this is kind of a team that is built on their defense, and they just need their offense to do just enough to win.
It feels very much like the Rex Grossman era Bears and even the 86 Bears, where they always seem to do their best when they're playing based on defense and an offense who can just get it done. Which
maybe the 2000 Ravens, wasn't it 2000?
Well, I'm just specifically talking about even Chicago sports.
Chicago.
Like, this is a formula that works for Chicago. I don't know why they ever deviate from play defense and, have an okay offense.
Well, yeah.
Fair enough. Look, I think you put it best, Steve. I think it's Trubisky. That is what the whole thing is going to hinge on. I mean, actually, let me come back to that in a second and just go to the Bears' defense because you talked about that as well. They're extremely healthy. I think virtually every single starter they had is still playing at this point of the season, which matters so much in the postseason. That's huge. The question for the Bears is how well their quarterback, Trubisky, is going to play, and I don't know how much you can trust him in the postseason. I like Trubisky as a person, but I don't have a lot of faith in him as a player, to be completely honest with you.
But they don't need it. They don't need him to do much, though.
No,
that's
need
true.
Him to do just enough.
He's got to do the point guard thing that people talk about with quarterbacks now. Just get the ball out to players.
I mean,
That's
if you
true.
want my
That's
sleeper in the playoffs, my sleeper is the Bears. Because I think the Bears are overlooked. Because the Saints have gotten so much attention in the NFC because of Drew Brees, and the Rams, flashy in LA. Sean McVay's running around with models, and they get a ton of attention. Well, the Bears have quietly gotten better and better and better, and they've been quietly. They're having this defense that's just been amazing. And guess who? The Eagles have to travel to Chicago.
Right.
This game is in Chicago because the Bears were the division champions. So I think they have a good chance of winning this game.
Well,
the Eagles are injured.
Yeah, I was going to say, do we even know who's starting for the Eagles at quarterback at this point?
You have to think it's Nick Foles will find a way, but it could be Sudsy.
Yeah.
Or maybe Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is not on IR.
That's true.
So I don't think we know yet. At least the day as of this recording, we don't know.
I thought Folesy was all good. I thought they gave him the all.
No. I thought it's still cracked rib. He might be able to play through it, kind of thing.
I don't think
that's
it really
what I heard,
matters.
but-
No.
Okay.
I don't think it matters, honestly. I mean, well, it would matter. I think you can't put Nate Sudfeld in there and expect him to play up to the
Right. I was going to say, no, it matters, but
it does matter.
Yeah, it matters quite a bit.
To say. It matters a lot. I think if nothing else, we've proven this year in Washington D.C. that it matters quite a bit. So it was a really dumb thing I said. This is what happens when you spout. This is what happens with you when you spout off without a script for an
We've
hour.
been going on for 105 or an hour and 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
it matters a lot. But point is, I don't think it's going to change the outcome. That's what I was trying to say is I don't think it'll change the outcome. I think the Bears will win this game. They are too good on defense and too consistent. And the Eagles have been weird and inconsistent this year. They haven't been themselves.
Yep.
And they weren't frankly that good against the Redskins, believe it or not.
no,
I agree with that.
The last time they played. So just the Redskins were awful.
That's right.
yeah, you beat a fourth string team, yay!
Yeah, congratulations. Right.
Yeah, this is
plus-
the hardest. This is one of the harder games to predict, I think, for the wild card
Yeah.
round because, like you said, Steve, this is like a very strong sort of sleeper team versus the defending Super Bowl champions. There's a lot of ways this could go. We've seen the Eagles in a banged up state take it all the way just last year, so this is a really tough one to call. Yeah, let's do it. What do you guys predict?
Bears.
Steve.
Yeah.
Bears for Alex.
And plus, I just want pain and agony for the people of Philadelphia is the other thing.
Man, I want to call the same thing as you guys, but I don't want to call the Eagles to win. This is I'm being torn in two
You got to
pieces.
be objective. Objectively, I think the Bears are going to win this game. It is a side benefit that will bring
Misery
pain
to
upon the
Philly,
people of
yes.
Philadelphia, yeah. But objectively, I think the Bears are going to win this game because
Come on, Sean, say
will
it.
stop an inconsistent Philadelphia
Bears.
Yeah.
Come on.
Just say whatever you're going to say, Sean. Don't listen to this fool.
I will say, I'll put it exactly like this. I think you guys are right that the Bears will probably win. Completely objectively, I think the Bears are playing really well. They've got a really healthy defense that's been playing lights out. That's going to make the difference. I really do think they'll win. But I'm just going to
Say Bears,
if
Sean.
run away with this one and Trubisky is not able to do anything, I'm not going to be surprised either.
Way to hedge your bets.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for calling out exactly what I did, Steve. Totally hedging the bets.
Can I predict the Redskins to win a game?
No, you can't.
Oh.
Sean can't either, apparently.
No.
That's true. Sean can't either.
I can't. It's true.
My 8-8 record's looking pretty good.
Hey, can I just say that I was way better than both of you the previous couple years we did this?
That's
This
true.
year I
You did
completely
win the
shit
first
the bed.
2 years that we did that.
There we go.
I would also like to say that I got laughed at over my 5-11 prediction, overall in the season, and that actually wasn't too far off.
No one's laughing
It
now.
could have easily been 6-10.
Oh, yeah.
Easily,
That's right. Okay. Awesome. Well, that's the wild card round. Those are our predictions. Any other lingering thoughts about playoffs you guys want to shoot out there before we put this one away?
Hashtag fire Bruce Allen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll
buy a
endorse
T-shirt about firing Bruce Allen, please.
Yeah, buy a T-shirt, please.
Yeah.
There you go.
About firing Bruce Allen. Oh, and we never got the contest is over. Okay, we never got. I was so disappointed. Nobody ever gave us a Photoshop photo of Bruce Allen in a Speedo and knee-high boots. I'm
I was
so
gonna ask
disappointed
you
in that.
about
No, we never got it. It's a shame.
If we didn't get it, if we got it, and I missed it, but I didn't see it. So thanks.
You and
a
I
lot,
are both
guys,
pretty
out there.
through checking what we get on Twitter.
Yeah.
Between
So
the two
I
of us,
think-
we would have seen it.
Yeah, and we didn't get it, so it's over. You guys blew it. No T-shirt for you. But it would have been a great thing. It probably would have gotten us in trouble with the Redskins, but it would have been worth it.
Yeah, there's going to be some changes to that PR office. I won't be surprised if we're in trouble anyway.
Basically, some of the things that these other sites and other media outlets have seen have been a whole lot worse than anything we said.
Oh yeah.
So I think we're doing okay in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. Okay, well, let's put this one to bed, and that's our Wildcat Round previews. Obviously, we'll be coming back with you guys next week. Actually, we should definitely call attention to this. We're back to 1 episode a week now, guys. So, for anyone listening, if you're wondering why we're not posting, it's just because we've gone to our 1 episode a week schedule, but it is an hour, so it's the same amount of content. It's just not 2 episodes a week like it used to be. So, we will be back with you guys again next week at the exact same time. But make sure you're still coming back to thehogsty.com because we got all kinds of written content stuff coming to you through the off season. And with that, we will leave you guys to get back to your nights. Have a great one, and we'll see you next week. Take care.